Hey guys, how you doing? My name is Lena. Welcome back to another video. So today we're going to rant for a little bit. I don't know, but I've been feeling like complaining a bit. So today we're going to talk about overrated science fiction and fantasy books because I just talked too much about underrated. So today we're going to the opposite side of the scale. But I have here, I believe, 10 books that I personally believe. I'm not going to tell you that they are bad, because I don't think so. Well, except maybe a couple of exceptions. But I believe that they are hyped way too much. A bit too much. But without further ado, let's just get started. I'm going to start with just like my personal nemesis. My two personal nemesis. Like, one is science fiction and the other one is fantasy. But we're going to start with this science fiction one. I know a lot of people are going to get mad at this, but get over it, it's fine. But this is Red Rising by Pierce Brown. And hear me out. I'm going to say this because this first book, I think, is the one that is extremely overrated. Because this, I don't think is great at all. I just don't understand the hype behind this book. Because when you get to Golden Sun, it actually is a great book. Like, it expands the world so much. It gets some truly sci-fi and truly space opera feel to the series. But this first book, I would sell this series as being the Hunger Games but in space. And yeah, like, yes, the whole competition part of it, for me, it was personally so fucking boring. Like, I'm just tired of people just competing to kill each other. Like, this first book feels more like a dystopia, like a 2000s dystopia, than a science fiction series, if you know what I mean. Like, it's so different, such a different feel between these last books and this first book. I just cannot with this first book. Like, it took my enjoyment out of reading this series. Like, I don't know, but like 2 or 3 years went by before I even tried Golden Sun. I was not even interested, but everyone keeps saying like, yeah, it gets better, it gets better. A lot of people don't like the series because it's very different from book one. I was like, okay, then now I'm interested. And yeah, it gets so much better, like so much better. I cannot even compare. Like, but this first book it's such a no for me. Like, I cannot. Then, The Name of the Wind. I actually got rid of my copy. Like, I will say this first book, it's not as bad. Like, it's not a bad book, this first book, but people just definitely hype this series up too much. Like, too much. Like, this is the best fucking thing that's ever been written. Is it though? The best part of this series for me is the magic system. It's pretty interesting, learning about it in general, but the rest for me is just, well, the Chandran story I actually really like. I even actually dreamt about the story once, but it's just like, yeah, that's it. The rest, I especially hate Quoth as a fucking character. That I just cannot. And book 2, I think, is just bad. Like, bad. It's a bad book, and I certainly cannot think how the author is going to be able to wrap everything in book 3. I highly doubt it, especially since book 2 literally did nothing for the story, like nothing. So I don't know, but I just cannot stand the series. Every time, I'm going to tell you this, okay? But every time I see someone saying like, this is so good with The Name of the Wind, I'm immediately just like, sure. I just cannot. It's a personal pet peeve of mine. Like, if you love this series, I'm so happy for you. I wish I could. Like, I wish I could just like this series so much as the rest of the world, but I just cannot. I continue to read more original books, like especially fantasy books than this, that I cannot get behind it. I just cannot. And I fucking hate Quoth with that passion. Like, he's probably the character that I hate the most in every single series. Like, I don't care. Like, I just cannot fucking stand Quoth. So the next series, I don't think it's bad. I actually think it's good. But I also think that because of nostalgia, people just keep bringing it up. And I just don't think it's as good. when you're reading it, just like the meaning of the story is great, but the story in itself, it's a bit meh. I'm talking about his dark materials. Like, I think that most of the love that this series still gets today is coming from nostalgia. 100%. I actually really like the adaptation on HBO. I don't know, I just really liked it in general. But these books, I tried reading them again because I read them when I was really young. I just really didn't get the meaning out of it at all. I was just like, yay, warrior polar bears, let's go. But I read it in preparation for the series, for the show. And I don't know, I just wasn't a really huge fan of it. I was just like, okay, it's fine, but that's it. So every time someone is just like, yeah, 5 stars, I'm just like, have you read them recently? I don't know, there's something about it that I just, but the meaning behind it is actually great. So yeah, so many people are going to hate me for this one. I'm going to talk about Legends of Lattes. Don't get me wrong, this book is great. I gave it 4 stars, it's fucking fantastic. But I need to tell you something, this book didn't invent like cozy fantasy books, and everyone is acting like it. Like, it existed before, you know, like cozy fantasy is a subgenre on itself. It's not my favorite subgenre because if I want something like cozy, I'll read a cozy mystery instead. But cozy fantasy existed beforehand. It's fine. Like, I love this book. It's super good, super cozy. It's great. The feeling, you get this fulfillment sentiment. It's just great. It's just great. But, you know, it's not new. So everyone's just like, oh my god, let's just discover this subgenre. And everyone being just like, oh, we need more books like this. They already are. But I don't know, I have nothing else to say besides that. Like, this is a people problem, like 100%. This book is great and I highly recommend that you check it out. Actually, it's just super cute. Then I talked about this one quite recently, this one and the next one, but the Atlas 6. What is this book? So this is about a kind of competition to get into this group, learning magic, and they basically have to decide and kill one of the group, which is just go to the next phase for saying something. Nothing happens in this book. I listened to this one like in 2 days because I was taking a lot of public transport. I had like 2 planes, I had a 4-hour ride on a train, so you know, I was able to listen to it just doing nothing basically, and still I just got like 0 out of it. It's one of those books that I've read and I'm just like, the only like memory that I have of it is just like, it was super forgettable. Like, I might as well have not read it, honestly, because I have it like physically. So sometimes I'm looking at my shelves and I'm just like, oh, the Atlas 6. Would have forgotten about it so quickly. I don't understand the hype behind this book at all. Some books I'm just like, okay, I'm the problem, as with another series that is here, like, I'm the problem. But what is the hype behind this book? Someone that actually loves this, can you explain it to me, please? Like, I know that I'm not exactly like the target audience for this, but I really like teenage drama in general, so I'm pretty sure that I will love it. I was so convinced I was going to like it, honestly. Like, it was such a like, it hurt a bit. Like, I wanted to really like this one, but the most forgettable book that I've read this year, alongside with Upgrade, definitely. Then I have here the First Law. Stop, wait a second. Do I think the series is bad? No. Do I also think that it's extremely overrated? Yes, because personally, I think that the best thing this series has is Glotka, and everyone just loves Glotka so much. Glokta, sorry. I sometimes just move the K and the T around. But I just think people love him so much that they just get over the moon with this series. Because honestly, I just cannot pinpoint anything else that I think stands out from this series, because it's definitely a character-driven trilogy, and it's not something that I usually love just in general. But then the plot is nowhere to be found until book 3. Book 3 is definitely the heaviest in the plot and still not enough. So if you're just like a very plot-driven reader, this series is not for you, and everyone will still recommend this one to you. If you're just saying just dark fantasy, the First Law definitely is grayer than your usual fantasy and darker than your usual fantasy. But when I think dark fantasy or grim dark fantasy, I never think about this series, and I just don't know why people do. I'm pretty sure that it has to do with Joe Abercrombie having just like the Twitter handle, not grimdark, honestly. But even though it's definitely dark, there's so many more like darker series than this, and this gets chosen as like a staple for dark fantasy and grimdark fantasy all the time. And I don't really think it is. So that's my hot take with this series. Like, is it really? It's darker than the usual fantasy, but is it really like grimdark fantasy? I don't know. Depending on just like the tolerance of the reader, this of course might be considered grimdark. But if you constantly read dark fantasy, do you really think this is grimdark fantasy? Personally, no. But I understand why most people categorize it as that. Do not share it, but can understand it. Again, I don't think the series is bad. Like, the First Law is actually like a pretty consistent and solid series. It's just really nothing in there that resonates with me besides Golokta, because he's just the fucking best. That I have to say. I have to say that I'm actually, because I really like Joe Abercrombie's writing style. So I really want to try Trouble with Space. Is that the name of the next series? That I really want to read. And also Best Served Cold. Those two I really, really want to read. And then I have not a book, but an author in general. Riley Sager. I'm sure everyone knows this guy, but he's basically an author that writes mystery horror novels. I've only liked one of his books. I have given up already. Like, I just do not understand the hype behind his books anymore. Like, the last one that I read was Survive the Night, which was his release for last year. He has another book coming out this year, and it was so bad. So bad. The worst book that I read last year in so many different ways. Like, probably the stupidest character that I've ever followed on any type of media. And he has this way of making like his female characters so fucking stupid. I don't know, but I really like to follow smart characters in thrillers and mysteries. Like, why would you give me like someone stupid? I know they're not going to survive. But yeah, it was so dumb. I'm completely giving up on his books. I will read Final Girls, but because it's the only one that I actually own and the only one that I haven't read. Shocker. But that's probably the only thing. And even that, I'm thinking about it. Like, do I really need to read it? Also, everyone says that that one is the best one. So I know everything is going to be downhill from there. So, not for me anymore. Just like, I just don't understand. The Justice of Kings. I read this book early this year, and it was one of my most anticipated releases, and I really wanted to love it. I was just so disposed, like being just like, yes! I was so predisposed, being just like, yes, this is going to be fucking fantastic. I'm going to love it. I just love anything that is related to crime or law in any type of sense, any type of media. I love it. What a disappointment. But probably mostly because the plot was not really there that much. It wasn't bad, but not enough. And the main character, Elena, was again the fucking worst. It's incredible that for someone who doesn't really like character driven stories, these characters exist that annoyed me so much. Like, it's fucking unbelievable. Everyone's like, oh my god, she's such a believable teenager. She is fucking not. Like, just because you're a teenager doesn't mean you have to be fucking stupid. Just getting that out there, you know? And it's just annoying as hell. The only character that I really liked was two justices that were here, a man and a woman. The only two characters that I was actually like, yeah. Well, the sheriff, I was pretty hesitant at first, and then at the end I was just like, okay, you might be actually my fucking favorite character in this series. There were some comments here in the book that I actually really dislike and find a bit ableist. I don't know, but this book was not it. I'm so disappointed. I wanted to love it so bad. I'm not really sure if I'm going to try book 2. I know the author is finished with it, if I'm not mistaken. I don't know, because in a way, I actually think that the plot on book 2 is going to be much better, and I actually really want to see if the author improves with these minor details. So I don't know, I might try it. This is also a debut novel, so you know, might be a bit complicated and not as good as the rest. So I don't know. I do have to say that I firmly believe the plot will be better in book 2. I don't know. I will probably just see the reviews, though they are very deceiving because everyone was giving this book 5 stars. So I was just so full. But yeah, this book, not for me. And then the last one that I have here is A Deadly Education by Nilo Minovic. The problem with this book, well, the problem that I found in this book was that it's just completely disjointed. The story does not flow for me. Like, it's just like you're sitting there and you're just like, yeah, she has to survive. Let's go. I also feel like this book is too short for what it wants to accomplish, because it might seem big, but it's actually not even, let me check, barely 300 pages. Not enough room to breathe. If you have like a magical school that is killing its children, show me more. Don't be shy about it. But I also feel like the only thing that was making any sense in here was the relationship between the main character and a side character. That was the best part of it. But the rest, extremely overrated. I do have to say that I feel like this is a common feeling between the community in general. But this was actually my first Nilo Minovic too. So I'm a bit underwhelmed. I will not continue the series. I just don't find it interesting enough to continue. Like, it feels like a good, that's it story. So yeah, but a bit overrated overall. So yeah, those were the books that I wanted to complain about. Have you read any of these? Do you agree? What are the books that you think are overrated? I just love to hear this type of like critique. I just love it so much. But yeah, as always, just let me know down in the comments below, and I will see you in the next one. Bye.